Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland, and this podcast is dedicated to helping families love God and use tech. Today, we are diving straight into some tech news. Then we're going to talk about some parent questions and get our gospel reminder. So tech news, we're going to go meta. We're going to talk about making space for boredom. We're going to answer the parent question on how does my child communicate with friends without a smartphone, and then our gospel reminder coming out of Mark today. All right, tech news. So this is actually going back to 2025. Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, said, we are all in on VR and we are growing rapidly and we are super excited. They announced their new Meta glasses, these augmented reality glasses where you can get Ray-Bans, but they have cameras in them and they can project a small image up so that just you can see the AI processing in real time, both your words and the words of other people. It can give you real-time translations, real-time suggestions. It can scan a room for images and objects, like very interactive with VR. So they're all in, like to the tune of they've spent $80 billion building out their VR platform. Then enter February 2026. They're like, yeah, we're not so all in on VR. And this is big for us because it's both the state of virtual reality, which is not going away, by the way, but this is a massive pivot for $1 trillion company to say, hey, our boss's kind of pet project is, they call it getting right-sized, but that right-sizing comes with cutting 1,500 of your 8,000 employees that work specifically on VR. So keep that in mind as we look at the world around us, that this is a major company taking a step back and saying, hey, we're here for profit and this isn't working. Keep also in mind that they're going to keep pushing VR whether you want it or not. They truly are convinced as a company that VR is the future. It's going to be involved in whatever the next platform is. So VR is here to stay. On that note, they're pivoting to mobile, which is wild because they basically were like, we're going to make great, great content that is ingenuitive, that is new, that no one else is doing, and we're going to make it on this platform, and we're going to make it so designers can think big thoughts and get out there. And then they literally, in their news announcement, are like, we're going mobile, and we're super proud for pushing things like steal a brain rot. Keep that in mind. Meta is throwing its dollars behind traction at all costs. They're going to mobile because there's more mobile people. They have something like 3 billion people across their platforms as active users, and all those people at least have access to mobile. So if they create mobile games now, they can push those games out to everyone that's already in their ecosystem, whereas currently, you have to buy a couple $100 object at least. You're asking someone to buy a new device to participate in a game, whereas you could just push it to devices they already own. I understand that. Just keep in mind, when you put your kids into these spaces, please know what they're engaging. Really, there's 3 things you must have in place before you let your child play a mobile game with a friend or get into a VR world. There's 3 features that you have to have before a child can enter independently into these spaces. First is we have to know what that child is playing. And I want to pause on this because in my kind of deep dive into the meta, I got into the weeds because I'm not on VR. I don't play video games right now. And so I needed to do a little more research and specifically just on the ones that Meta was referencing. They're like, no, we still have great development because their announcement was made specifically to devs was the one that got me interested. So developers, hey developers, we've got all these games. They're going really well. Here's some examples. And they gave 3. And I just went down to reviews. It's a first-person shooter game. I won't even name it. But you do need, like, these are the 5-star reviews. It's first one just says body physics. Make body physics settings so you can body slam and break bodies over knee. Also jaw physics. So a punch breaks the jaw. Okay, it goes on, and the rest I don't think I can read. Okay, that's weird, but what else happens? It's just going down. Amazing game, and this is, by the way, that first one was from 22 days ago. The second one is March 27th. I love this game. It's so much fun. We need a violence update. 1, bone breaking. Okay, like, all right. And then again, the next one down, love it, and then goes through, and yes, bone breaking is one of this person's suggestions. So, like, these are 5 stars. This is a game that Meta's like, this game's going great for us. Again, I didn't find this like in the weeds. This was one of the games listed in the like, here's 3 games that are doing really well. And these are the good reviews of this game that they said is going really well. Without parental controls, your child could just pick this game up or just watch the review of the game, which itself is insanely violent and probably not something you would let your child just play. So like in the game shop, this game is real-time just streaming video of gameplay. Know what your child is playing. You need parental controls to be able to say yay and nay. The second thing we need with whatever device our children are engaging the internet with, be it a personal tablet, be it our phones, be it VR, TVs, gaming consoles, we need to know what they're playing, and we need to know who they're playing that with, both in real life, like, oh, I'm playing with this friend from school. Like, we want to know who they're playing with, but also if these games are multiplayer or if they allow them to engage others, we need to know who those people are. And this is the problem with Roblox. The problem with Roblox, and Fortnite is doing this now, and any number of other things, is that there's fan-made content. So the companies are not making the games anymore. They provide a platform, a sandbox, and then people build games using their rules and physics and then release those games to the public. So they're portal games, meaning I go to this kind of server now. Roblox is now a server. I join this server and there are player-made games, player-made content on there. So that's the know what your child is playing. The hard part with Roblox is not that every kid has a bad experience. There's no way to ensure that your child has a safe experience. There's just no way. The game has not built that in. And yes, there's some like facial recognition stuff happening where they're trying to limit who joins which groups. So they keep you adults with adults and kids with kids. It's not working great, but that doesn't actually change the in-game problems that we've got. Again, this is a problem with anything that's fan-made where it's just masses of people. Roblox, Fortnite has fan-made content as well. We need to be able to say yay and nay. So the best example of this would be app stores for Android devices where you can release one at a time rather than entire categories of apps. You can just say, hey, this is an acceptable app for you for this stage, for where you are in your health and tech maturity. None of the rest of them fit. I love that sort of release, and that's great. It's not unlike, if we're doing audiobooks, we don't want our child to have access to every audiobook, so we pick an audiobook and you can lock the device into that audiobook using something like guided access. That's great. So Hadley got to listen to Willy Wonka yesterday using my device. And that's wonderful, or a Bluetooth speaker or whatever. But we do not want just limitless internet opportunities for them and their curiosity and even their just trying to use it well, but the tech fights them on that. So that's the first piece in tech news, is that we have a $1 trillion company with an $80 billion investment who said, that's not it. We're going mobile because of traction. And that traction includes content that probably isn't appropriate for your children because that's not what they care about. They care about traction. More bodies using this device more often or using this platform more often. So we want to know what our children are playing, know who they're playing it with, and set clear boundaries. If the tech we're using doesn't let us do those 3 things, it's fighting you on good decisions. That's part of their model. They didn't put it in there on purpose. No one forgets these at this point in development. Everyone knows these are options. So if they refuse to include them, please refuse to use that product. Moving on. We need to make sure as we head to summer, as we get new technology in our lives, that we are making space for boredom. This is going to happen. I like to say have fun at the pace of real life. But boredom is important for our brains. It allows us to recalibrate from overstimulation. This pursuit of pleasure at all costs, hedonism, leads to anhedonia, the inability to experience pleasure. And so your body actually has this kind of balancing between receiving boredom, a form of stress, and receiving pleasure. Otherwise, it'll just make up its own. And so that premise is true for our children in their digital spaces, and the real world is a fine counter. It doesn't have to be mean or arbitrary. It doesn't have to be like go dig a hole, but it probably does involve work. So the example from this last week, Henry, not on technology, but just around the house, and like, hey, we're going to go plant some plants. And he's like, I don't think I want to. So he was in the middle of a project. So like, great, go finish your little project. You've got X amount of time. And after like 15 minutes, like, great, you're coming out now. And we started planting plants. And I chose this particular one because I know that planting plants is something Henry has historically loved to do. And it's springtime. This is only happening this one time. Like, I want you to be part of at least this part of it. You don't have to do all of it. Like, this isn't me putting my child to work while I, drink sun tea over in the shade. Sometimes that's perfectly appropriate, but this was not that scenario. I was planting with him. And we got partway into it, and he's like, Dad, this is one of those things when someone brings it up, and you're like, that sounds terrible. And then you do it, and you're like, this is fun. And I love that. Wise words, son. I feel like that's a lot of the real world fun. It's stuff that when you're not doing it, you're like, that sounds like work. I don't really want to. And then while you do it and after you do it, you're like, oh, this is really good. I'm getting a lot of joy from this. And so please think about where you can build in space for boredom. A lot of times it's not happening during our sports because our sports are all about engagement and keeping kids active, and then we're just on all the time, or they literally have their technology during the sport. We talked about this previously. It's not happening a lot in our classrooms. It's not happening a lot when our friends hang out, or our kids hang out with friends. So we need to actually find the space for them to be bored and build it into our calendars, a space where we say no to other things, where we say no to being gone and to being busy, and we're just going to be home. Maybe it's just from 1 to 5 on a Saturday or whatever. But in that time, we're going to turn the TVs off. We're going to take the devices. We're going to be intentional. Maybe it's a family walk, or maybe it's just everyone does 90 minutes of independent time. And in that time, you'll be bored. There's buffers on it. We know this will end. It's not a full day of just staring at the ceiling and questioning life, but build time to be bored. It is important for your child. It is a gift. And frankly, it's good for us too. No, mom and dad, we don't get to hide in a room and be on social media or video games or shows or just work email during this downtime. This is downtime. We're going to be bored too.
Parents, as we strive to raise kids who love God and use tech, it's intimidating to look at this next stage of life and think about what academics may look like for them. When you're thinking about college, consider George Fox University for your children because of 3 things. First, it's going to give you a more intimate, known environment where they have a focus on being known personally, academically, and spiritually. Your child will grow in their faith. 93% of undergrad students at George Fox last year, through the 2025 academic year, said that being at George Fox has helped them grow in their relationship with Jesus. We also want them to grow academically, which means being a part of a university with rigorous academic standards and opportunities to be engaged. They have a nationally recognized engineering, nursing, and education programs, as well as chances to study abroad here within the U.S. and then internationally. And finally, personally, to be part of a vibrant campus atmosphere where you can play intramural sports or part of their NCAA Division III athletic programs with 23 sports available. The goal here is to go to a place that's going to support your goals, not try to make you support theirs. To have that goal be to raise you up to be all God's called you to be, and to truly equip your young person with in my case, my sons or my daughter, to love God, and then from their love of God to go wherever God has called them. And that includes being equipped with a degree that'll help them do that, to be missionally equipped to love and serve others, to lead where God has planted them, and to know the gospel for themselves, to be able to share with others. So George Fox University is an amazing resource for our kids, for our community here in the Northwest, and for anyone who's looking to raise up a young person who can love God and from that, love others.
Number 3. How can my kids communicate with friends if he doesn't have a phone? And this question actually said, how does my child communicate with friends when he's the only one without a phone? First and foremost, the odds of your child being the only one without a phone, very slim. There are always kids. In fact, this is already happening. And I already hear the 6th graders being like, I'm the only one without a phone. But there's like 6 kids saying it at the same time. What they're trying to communicate is, I feel left out. And I get that. And I want to acknowledge that you do feel left out. Like, we all feel left out when we find out that other people were on social media or video games or shows, and we don't know what's happening there. Just because they're super engaged doesn't mean it's going well. I'm assuming if you're not giving your child a smartphone, your child isn't in a place where that would be a good choice. Either they're too young, or they're not mature enough in some part of their reset, their relationships, emotions, sleep, enjoyment, time, not ready for digital freedom yet. Or the apps that they're asking to use are not age appropriate. They're like, I'm 13 and I really want to be on TikTok with my friends. No, That's probably not a net gain. But for whatever reason, you've made that choice. This is not a good choice right now. Within that choice, how do your friends communicate, or your child's friends communicate with him or her? Through your device or in person. Like these are perfectly reasonable. You can let your child use your phone to communicate with that child in whatever means. Maybe they're emailing, or I don't think anyone emails, texting, messaging through an app that you've have parental controls and you have the ability to ensure that things are going fine. Excuse me. And it's perfectly reasonable to let your child message back and forth. In person, meaning, yeah, I'll set it up through social media, through your child's, through your apps with that child and say, great, that child's going to come over. You're going to go over there. We've set up play dates. It's going to happen in person. Third is, I've mentioned this before, but I have got this thing, we got it at Christmas, called Tin Can. It's a wirelessly connected landline. They're not a sponsor, but we like the premise and it has worked. It's been interesting to watch. There's still some kinks in it. Like you have to clear people's numbers so that they can call you and you can call them. So I like that. But when it rings at inconvenient times. So then you have to set this like buffer, like you can't call us after 9:30, but that includes your child's ability to like call your phone. So if you're on a date night, you have to say like, oh, we're going to be out till 9:30. So like, we're going to move the timer. So otherwise it will say the phone is down. Like the phone goes down. There's no 911 will still work, but like you can't call mom and dad. I'm sure that's a software feature for the future where they'll be like, these are the 3 bypass numbers. They can call at any time of day. There are still some kinks, but it is very cool to be able to call. We have 2 sets of cousins that are on those landlines and they can call each other and learn that talking on a device is different, right? Like just the long pauses as they like wait for the other person to pick up the conversational slack. Like it's great. These are real life skills. These are skills that we actually aren't getting behind a screen when all we do is text. Like these are still real time synchronous conversations. They just happen to be happening over a phone. And sometimes it's Hadley wants to make sure she and her cousin wear the same clothes. Sometimes it's Owen has a question about airsoft for one of his cousins. Sometimes it's Henry just wants to say hi. Like those are great. And those are all ways we can communicate. They can communicate. If your child, let's say I have a 12-year-old, so 6th grader, all, quote unquote, all of his friends have phones. How does he communicate with those friends? Through your device, through a secondary, safer tech, something like a tin can. It's, I think, $10 or $11 a month to be able to call just all the phone numbers you want. Or you can just call people who have tin cans. And that's just the cost of the device. We can set up in-person hangouts with these people. Oh, you want to talk to so-and-so? Like, great, let's set that up. Let's make sure that we can hang out. Works best when those people are in proximity. And if they're school people or church people, there's a good chance they are. And then there is a 4th option, which is they are not actually as involved as those other peers. There is a difference between being friends and being convenient. This is the lie we believe of my child has to be on that social media platform or has to be on that video game in order to have friends. That is not true. But I do know that to be involved with their peers, sometimes that is true. Like this is what their peers play, so they need to be engaged. We have taken a stance of no. We are not going to be engaged in some of those activities. I mentioned Roblox already in this conversation. We said no, it is not worth the risk. It's not worth the overstimulation. It's not worth the poor game design. So that's my hot take on Roblox. If you love it and you've decided the level of safety for your child, then please engage that intentionally and make sure that those 3 are true. You know what your child is playing, you know who they're playing it with, and you can set content boundaries. But that's when we just said no. Like, I get it. Your friends are on there and there's a lot of kids playing it and it is a good time, and no. But if you want to communicate with them through a tin can or through our device, or if you want to have them over, we would love to make that happen. No is still an option. You need to hear that as a parent, that you can simply say, no, we're going to engage in these other ways. And if there's really a friend who's not willing to engage with you, then that person's not a friend. Like, that's hard to hear, but it's better we know it now, because that kid is just looking for convenience, not for relationship. So please do know that those are our options for communicating. There are facets of this, like, yeah, but my kid's getting bullied because of this. Or I would have questions on what that looks like and what the extent we want to mitigate that is. Obviously, telling safe adults and getting school involved is going to be important. But the idea that your child's the only one without a device is probably not true. And we don't need a lot of people who aren't on devices to be able to have a real world community. We need 1 to 3 other people who are on the same page with us. And then talk to your child about what does it mean when we feel left out? How can we be engaged? How can we think about others when they feel left out of things? And really be deliberate with that. Our gospel reminder today comes out of Mark 7. And it is Jesus talking to his disciples, specifically his disciples and the Pharisees, talking about the Pharisees were concerned about, hey, you're not following these laws. We had these rules to protect the Sabbath and to make sure that people follow God's laws, and you're not really following the laws that we've set that are supposed to be a buffer for other people. He says, hear me, all of you, and understand, there's nothing outside of a person that is going into him that can defile him, but the things that come out of a person are what defile him. Skipping down, he says to his disciples, then you also are without understanding. Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart, but his stomach, and is expelled? Skipping forward. What comes out of a person is what defiles him. From within, out of his heart, out of the heart of a man comes evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All of these things come from within, and they defile a person. Again, this is Mark 7, 14 through 23, and then I skip just a couple verses there in the middle. This is really important because, one, this is true. What we consume doesn't make us unclean on the food side. And what we consume in technology is actually a reflection of a heart attitude. And this is kind of interesting because it would be easy to say, well, this game can't make me bad. And be like, well, that's true, but why are you playing that game is actually the question. And the answer is it's a heart issue. Your heart revels in. When I read those VR game reviews, there were players reveling in the grotesque violence. Like, this is amazing, but the only thing that would make it better is bone breaking. I need to be able to, and then they walk through very clearly what their hearts desire, what they yearn for, what they've set their minds on, what would give them pleasure and joy, and it's grotesque. It isn't good. Did the game make them experience that? Probably not. They probably had something that found this game and said, this would be great. They played it and they're like, oh, that was so good. And remember, these were all 5-star reviews. And you know what would be even better? And then they dreamed up things that would give them more pleasure, and they were grotesque, and they were violent, and they were vile. But that came from inside them. Did the video game cause it? No. Did the video game give it fuel and encourage it? Apparently, because they're leaving the review and hope that this video game will continue to extend their enjoyment. When Jesus is talking about what comes out of our hearts, we need to recognize that technology can reflect our hearts back to us. Watch what we're consuming. Watch what we're celebrating. Watch what we're playing and listening to and encouraging others to do the same with our money, with our time, and with our actions. What are we celebrating, saying, this is good, this is praiseworthy? Because is it? Like, we want to think that out. And then there is this reality that we now know with technology, that technology can pivot our heart's desires, that we can be on there with good intentions, that we can play this game or go on that platform or be in this space because we want good things. And it's not necessarily our heart's going to a bad place, but the technology itself feeds bad parts of us. It feeds greed. It feeds envy. You go on Instagram long enough, you will feel worse about your life. You just will. You could have only Christian content on there and you're going to feel bad about how you love God because you don't love God like that person loves God. That's how the platform is built. It is the intention of it. It's to keep you scrolling. It's to keep you engaged. It's to keep you following. It's to keep you commenting. That is the point. The worse you feel about your life, actually, the more likely you are to live in someone else's through social media. Instagram is really, really good at that. That platform, yes, we have faults in our own hearts, and it is looking to cultivate those faults. Keep this in mind as you go about it. I still have content on Instagram. I have to be very deliberate in how I use it and how I post it. I'm going to tell you, I do not use Instagram very often. I go on Meta's business platform and I post content and schedule it, and then I walk away. Or Anna goes with her app and she'll post it because she's not me and I do worse on social media than she does. We have to be really intentional. Why do we keep posting there? Because we know there's a lot of people there looking for hope and answers. So we want them, when they're scrolling for God, to find content that points them back to God. That's our current approach, similar to how we use Facebook and YouTube. And we know those spaces are not good for everyone, and they don't always produce good fruit. When we think about our technology, let's be intentional. What bad comes out of us is coming out of our hearts. We repent of it. If there's technology that is causing more of that, we cut it off and we gouge it out. That's Matthew 5:28-30. If it causes us to sin, if it is the cause of our jealousy, of our dissension, of our anger, of our lust, of our rage and joy at violence, we repent and we cut it off. We delete the game. We remove the app. We drop the technology and move on with our lives because God tells us it's not worth gaining that tech and losing our souls. If it causes us to sin, it's expendable. If it's exposing what's in our hearts, we repent and say, Lord, I repent of this. This is coming up. I give this to you. This is not worth holding on to. Please take it and make me look more like you. And then he is going to call for faithful action and cause conviction for faithful action. And it will involve removing some tech. It will involve adding some boundaries. So my hope and challenge for you is that you will use all the tech that helps you look more like Jesus, and we will help your children do the same. My prayers this conversation was encouraging. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out nathan@gospeltech.net. Maybe your question will be next week's question in this Q&A format for the podcast, and I can respond to that in a future podcast. If you would like to reach out, then it's nathan@gospeltech.net or at Love God Use Tech on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can join us next week as we continue this conversation about how we can raise kids who love God and use tech. I'll talk with you then.